Today, I'm going to be showing you how to play the card game known as Yu-Gi-Oh! For those of you who don't know, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a children's card game as well as TV show created by Konami. I won't be showing you everything there is to know about Yu-Gi-Oh!, but I'll just be showing you some of the basics just so that if you wanted to, you could get to know how to play the game yourself. Again, not the advanced stuff, just some of the basics. First of all, though, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a two-player game, so you're going to need a second person. The objective of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is to eliminate your opponent's life points. Most games start at either 4,000 or 8,000 life points and end when one of the players reaches 0 life points. If both players reach 0 at the same time, the game ends in a draw, though this is fairly unlikely. So now that we know the start of Yu-Gi-Oh! And the win condition of Yu-Gi-Oh!, how do we get there? You'll be using the cards from your deck to win. Not a normal deck of cards. These cards are very different from your standard. Each deck is made of 40 to 60 cards, of which you're allowed to hold up to 6 in your hand. There are 3 different types of cards: monsters, spell cards, and trap cards. Monster cards are the most commonly played type of card. Outlined by their yellow-brownish border, they can either be used to attack your opponent's life points or do battle with other monsters. Monsters can be summoned directly from your hand or by the effect of another card, and they can either be in attack mode or defense mode, in which they have a rating for both. When a monster does battle with another monster, which to initiate battle you have to be in attack mode, the winner is decided by whoever has the highest mode for the ratings used. For example, if my monster in attack mode attacks your monster in defense mode, whoever has the highest stat wins. If 2 monsters in attack mode are doing battle, the difference in attack is dealt as damage to the players. So again, for example, if my monster with 1,500 attack points attacks your monster with 1,200 attack points, you would then take 300 points of damage. Monsters can either be normally summoned or specially summoned. To summon a normal monster, they have to be less than level 4. If a monster is level 5 or 6, they require 1 sacrifice to summon. If they're 7 or above, they require 2 sacrifices to summon. Moving on, we have spell cards. Spell cards are outlined by their green border and have various effects on to change how the game is played. Most of the time, what they end up doing is either they have a positive effect towards yourself or a negative effect towards the enemy. Spell cards can only be played during your turn unless in specific exceptions where the card states otherwise. Spell cards can be used in many different ways, so it's best to, as the player, know what your spell cards do and change them out based on what your deck wants to do. Lastly, we have trap cards, which are outlined by their purple border. These cards are used in reaction to your opponent's attacks from monsters and spell card activations. But first, they have to be set, meaning you can't use them right away. There are different kinds of trap cards that can be used for pretty much anything, so a lot of players will actually change them out based on who they're playing against. Now that we know the types of cards that are used, we need to know when we're allowed to use them. To know this, we need to understand the turn phases. Once one player starts their turn and completes it, it then becomes the other player's turn. At the start of every player's turn, except for the first turn of the game by the first player, is the draw phase. And all this is, they take 1 card off the top of their deck and add it to their hand. After the draw phase is the standby phase. This is when a lot of upkeep effects take place, as well as maintenance, and some card effects can only be used here. For example, a card might say that to use this card, you have to pay 300 life points during your standby phase, in which every standby phase you'd have to pay 300 life points. After the standby phase is the main phase. During the main phase, you can summon monsters and change their battle position, as well as play spell cards and trap cards that had already been set. You can set trap cards during the standby phase. However, they cannot be used during that turn that you set them. After the main phase is the battle phase. This is where your monsters can attack and do battle with other monsters. And as I had mentioned before, more attack points, more likely you are to win, and deal damage to the enemy. After the battle phase is the second main phase. During the second main phase, you can do all the same things as the first main phase. The only thing is you can't change your monster's battle position. So you can't go and attack somebody and then change it right back to the defense position afterwards. Lastly is the end phase. During the end phase, there's again more upkeep and maintenance effects that could take place here. Some card effects only take place during the end phase as well. It's kind of like a second standby phase. After your end phase, your turn is over, and it is now the other player's turn to do the exact same things that you just did. Now, like I said earlier, this isn't an advanced guide or anything like that. This is just enough to be able to get you or your friends to go to the store, buy a couple packs, and maybe play a couple games of your own. I wish you the best of luck.